Hi, everybody. Happy Sunday. Yes, this is Juliet Fajardo for Cherry on Tech. And we're super excited to have you, all of you, for a back to back. Yesterday, we were talking about how to be new in UX design in the job market. And today, I'm super pumped because it's our second roundtable of participants for fall 2023. Before we start, we're going to do a land acknowledgement. So I would like to acknowledge the land of each of us is presently on Turtle Island, that we are guests here. And it's our shared obligation, respect, honor, and sustain this land. Acknowledge the territories that we are on is about so much more than land, and it's the same time all about the land. The essence of the land acknowledgement is honoring the people and community of Turtle Island, the knowledge, wisdom, belief, teachings, language, help, support, love, care, and tradition of many, many ancestors who have been lived in this land since the immemorial. In acknowledging the traditional territories of the main indigenous people of the Turtle Island, we're given the opportunity to welcome the traditions and way of being into our own life. And I will welcome everybody to please go and find which territory are you living on. I chose the Turtle Island because a lot of our viewers and a lot of people who are part of the Cherry on Tech, but not all of them, are in North America. So if you're outside of North America, just Google and research what is your territory and what indigenous lands are you part of. Okay, so for today, again, we are going to be talking with the participants for fall 2023. Last time we have PMs and developers, so today is a mix of UX designers and a developer. Anyway, let's bring it in, and so we get to meet them in person. So hi, everybody. Nice to have you here.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello,
Julia.
hello.
Hi.
Hello. Yes. And for all of us that you're watching us, if you're watching us from LinkedIn, YouTube, or you came here because ADP list, make sure that you drop your questions on the chat. We will go through those. I can see them on LinkedIn, I can see them on YouTube. So put them down. Uh, Before we start with the questions about what it is to be a participant, why don't we tell people who you are? Jen, let's start with you. So
Yeah.
who are you?
Hi, my name's Jen, and I am a UX designer. And a little interesting fact about me is I've lived in 11 different countries.
I love the unique topics because it's always surprised me what people had to say. And I'm not going to ask you to name one of this, all of the countries, but thank you for that. Vandana, what about you?
Yeah, so hello everyone. My name is Vandana, and I'm a UX designer as well, just like Jen. And I like the human-centered approach of this. And a unique fact about me, I always find this hard, but I guess I just love interacting with people, be it working with them or playing board games with them. So yeah.
I'm such a bad player at board games. I'm a lie. Maybe I'm really competitive and I want to win. But then when there's a lot of rules and everything, it's like, no, I give up really easily in that. Anyway, Tanya, what about you?
Yeah. Hello, my name is Tanya. I'm a developer. And a unique fact about me, if you don't know Spanish, my last name is Piña, which translates into pineapple in English. So,
I love it.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's really, I'm like, oh, yeah. Good thing I like pineapples. So,
Do you get the question asked? It's like, do pineapples go on pizza or not? I will
Yes.
ask you
And
that. Yes.
I'm pro
Nice. That's
pineapples on pizza.
Me too.
nice.
I
That's
just
good.
discovered that
Did you just discover the pineapple on pizza? Wow.
recently.
Oh, wow. This is mind blowing.
I guess
I'm
that's my
originally from,
unique fact then.
yes, definitely. I'm originally from Colombia, and pineapple on pizza is like a must have. Like, this is how you learn when you're eating pizza. Anyway, okay, let's talk about what we came for. So, if you don't know, Cherry and Tech is a volunteer organization that empowers underrepresented gender in tech, women, non-binary, and trans people to get into tech by the power of a tech squad. The people that you see here, these participants, they were part of our fall 2023 cohort, a 13-week where we put tech squads together a group of people that is going to work cross-functionally, working in an end-to-end project. And what do we have this? I think one of the big roadblocks and issues that people is having to coming into tech is that finding hands-on experience is what it gets you to get a job. But if you don't get a job, then you don't have hands-on experience. So what do? That's okay. We got you. So you can be part of Cherry on Tech, and we can give you a tech squad when you can work together. Okay, let's start with the questions that we have. So, Tanya, let me go back to you. So, I don't know, and maybe it's a question. I'm going to throw it at a lot of you, but did you do something before coming into tech? And what was that? And what influenced you to become a developer?
Yeah, so I did get my bachelor's degree in anthropology at UCSD. And what I really liked about that major is that I learned about humanity and how folks interact with each other, communicate with each other, different customs and just different ways of living from folks. So I really love that. And even in college, I kind of had an inkling that I wanted to go into tech a little bit. I did go to a hackathon and I was like, I know nothing about coding, but hey, people are telling me, hey, this is a good event to go to. And I was like, all right, I'll go. But at that point, it was kind of too late to do any coding classes. I almost was done with my major, but I did see that a lot of folks were self-taught in that hackathon. So I was like, hey, I'll bookmark this and I'll, keep this later. And after graduating, I did get a job working as a library assistant for the county that I reside in. And again, I really liked it because I got to interact with people and, I got to give them information, whether it be in text form through books or just like, hey, you don't know the phone number of this place. I'll call them up. I'll let you know just in case you have any trouble. And I actually ended up in that role also hosting digital literacy classes. And that's where I was like, hey, I get to teach people about computers. I like computers. So again, that kind of got me more into the tech side. And it really brought in my love of helping people and also helping them in a digital way. So that's kind of what led me to exploring more tech roles and a career in tech.
Love it. And I will say that a lot of people that are part of Cherry on Tech, and I feel like I will talk about more about UX design. There is a lot of people just switching careers. And I feel like the percentage of Cherry on Tech for career switches is almost 90%. So it's really cool to see how your past, whatever you have done in the past, this has been really powerful to be where you are at this moment. What about Vandana? Did you do something before and why did you move into tech?
Yeah, I mean, I was always in tech to begin with because I did my bachelor's in engineering, but it was electronics engineering, and I was working on circuit design and also some innovation like IoT products, like just getting to know all about that, which helped me. And after that, I explored my passion in teaching a bit, almost like similar to Tanya, where it was in an informal environment. I was teaching online, uh, coding and math to secondary school kids. And in this curriculum, I found out about UX design, and that really spoke to me, the human aspect of it and also the logic aspect of it. And I intended to transition into this. But I also did another job because I moved to Canada and I was transitioning into UX design. So I had to take up an interim job as a customer service rep. And I thought, okay, I'm also taking so many skills from here into UX design. And yeah, that's where I came from.
Love it. And I love that you are making that connection between, yes, I do. And we talked a lot about this yesterday, but it's like while we are looking for a job in UX, doesn't mean that if we get another job, we are putting that dream away. We are just making these strength, like the strength of communicating with people, listening, being curious, and solving problems into practice. So I love that you're mentioning that, Vandana. Jen, what about you?
Yeah, so I am one of the transitioners. I was in education as a teacher for 10, 12 years. And I also was a photographer for about 6 years. And for me, the transition really happened when I was using a lot of ed tech to help my kids and my kids in my classroom as well, and just seeing the massive benefit that ed tech had. But yet, I could see ways to improve it. I could see what was working and what wasn't working. And when I stumbled upon UX design, I thought this is just the career for me. Like, it takes what I love, education and helping others. And even if it's not ed tech, I just love solving problems and helping others, trying to make things clear, trying to organize things in a way that, anybody can do this task online, and especially how everything is online now. So thinking about people who are older, who maybe can't understand it as clearly, just trying to make it easy. And as a teacher, that's what you do all day. You try to make everybody understand things. And if it's not working, you have to solve that problem and figure out another way to help them. Well, UX design is literally that. So for me, it was such a perfect thing. And also, it's really a creative field. It's thinking about how to make things in a creative way. And it's just like the meld of two things that I love.
And it's so interesting because, again, if we talk about us as a UX designer and then we have Tanya, we all came from the same idea of what coming into tech. And I love, Tanya, that you were mentioning that you wanted to help people, empower them. And it's like, you can do still that as a developer. So I'm going to be back at you, Tanya, and thinking is like, why did you end up choosing to be a developer versus another role in tech?
Yes. Good question, because I was also looking into, wow, there's so many things that one can be in tech, whether it be like technical, like developer or not, whether it be PM or designer. But for me, again, when I was teaching those digital literacy classes, I would teach folks how to use Excel, how to access government websites so that they can fill out important forms like taxes or just things that they usually would come into the library for help with. And I noticed that even in some of these websites which were, official, they would struggle. And it wasn't because they couldn't understand it. It was because, the button was too small and they had, they couldn't access it because maybe the button was too small for them to focus because, mobility issues, right? So I was like, I could teach them how to do it, but I can't, like, again, with the rules, I guess, in the library, I couldn't move their mouse or keyboard for them because of privacy reasons. So it was so frustrating to see that, they knew how to do it, they just couldn't access it. So I was like, oh, okay, I want to be that person to, help solve that problem. And I was like, okay, well, let me learn a little bit of HTML and CSS. How would I go about making that page a bit more accessible? How would I make that button bigger? Or how would I make this more legible? And that's kind of like where I learned, oh, I can manipulate things online. And I had a little bit of a taste on that through like Tumblr in my teens, where I made my custom like profile, and I was like, I can do this myself and people can benefit from it. So that's why I chose a developer route. But still, props to all the other tech roles, because without UX designers or PMs, we wouldn't have it in the first place. So
Yes. No, and I love it that, and again, I'm not saying that this is not a fresh view as a developer, but thinking in accessibility and helping others, like making it happen, is so powerful because you need to have those lenses of accessibility for every single point of view when building a product. Bandana, what about you? Why did you choose exactly UX design?
Yeah, well, like I mentioned, I was always in tech to begin with, and I wanted more of the human aspect. Like I said, I love interacting with people and I like listening to them. And when I found that the focus is on users and I get to interact with them first line, solving their problems and also be in tech at the same time, I was like, bang, that's it. So I really love Tanya's story. They always tell it, like whenever they tell it, I find it just amusing. Like that is so cool. So I don't have that great story, but I just tried to play my strengths and find my place in tech. So yeah, this is where my strengths align the most, and I chose UX design.
I love it. Yes. No, we don't need to compete for stories. I love your story too. So, Jen, what about you?
Yeah, so for me, I always knew development wouldn't be a good path for me. I think I don't have the patience to, yeah, I don't think it would be a good path for me. And I feel like for me, I like the overall bigger picture of it, of thinking of the user flow, how to lay things out and make it really easy to understand. And that is really connected to my education background, you know? So for me, it was always clear. Like once I heard about UX design, I knew it was the right path. And also UX design, like it was one of those things that in life, I would always see bad examples of UX everywhere, not like on the web, just like literally a door locking, not being completely clear how to lock it. And, you know, just for me, I noticed these things like, why is it like that? It shouldn't be like that. It should be like this. So for me, I think my whole life I've been a UX designer, but I just didn't realize it was a career, you know? So once I heard about it, I knew it was the right path.
Yes, and something that I love about tech, and maybe again, I feel like it's the privilege to live where I live for me in Canada is to be able to switch careers. Again, I always put my example. When I switched careers, I was on my late 30s, now in my early 40s, and that's okay. But it's so powerful to be able to transfer all those skills and your experience in the past regardless of your age. And this is so powerful and something that I'm really open to talk about all the time. Even if people don't believe that I'm this old, I'm like 41. So it's important, doesn't matter your age and what did you do in the past. When you start realizing that you have the skills and it's something that you have done, like Jen was saying, it's like this is something that I've been doing my whole life. I just didn't know that it was exactly UX. Is really powerful. Let's come into what the struggles are because we have a lot of those. Jen, so what are the major struggles and challenges that people is facing when transitioning into tech?
Well, I mean, you mentioned at the beginning, I think it's really hard to get that first job because people want 2 years experience. That's what everything says. And how do you get 2 years if you don't have any experience? It's sort of like this, you know, problem. And so I think that is a massive issue. And I think also when you transition, like someone like myself, I've already had 2 careers. And so I'm not starting from the beginning, but you know, I'm looking at kind of beginnerish middle roles, but still I do have a lot of other skills that I can bring to the table. But people want that exact experience within UX design, and it's really hard to kind of get that. So I think that is a massive issue that we all have. And even for people who are just coming out of college, like they still, just because they're new, it doesn't matter, doesn't mean that they can't do it. But they need a chance to do it. And I think unfortunately there seems to be a lack of wanting to take new talent, to mentor them and guide them, because it takes time. And you know, people all need that. And that's why like Cherry on Tech has been so incredible, because you're given that opportunity to practice and learn in a real environment, a real situation with other people who are similar to you, but yet you are guided with mentors. So you've got those mentors to help make sure that you're on track. And so I think that that's what's so great, you know, about Cherry on Tech.
Tanya, I'm going to throw these at you, and I feel like mostly with the example that us as a designers, let's say that our work is a little more, is not as tangible as a developer. Yes, like if I said to the developer, "Hey, can you make this page? Can you make this app?" You just go and like boom, boom, boom. I love it. It's like magic. It's like boom, it's working. Yes, we do not have this in our like skills. Yes, like then we are developers, but we are not. So what do you think is the major struggle for developers, new developers coming into tech? And again, I'm going to throw another one at you is as being as a non-binary person, like what does this mean in tech?
Yeah, so let's see. I think it all kind of comes together where, I discovered my non-binary identity as I was coming into tech. So I was like, okay, new role in life and also like in career. So again, that's one of the things that also attracted me to this, I guess, in tech as well, because um, I saw people being free to be who they were, as a plus, I guess. There's great benefits, like of course you get like vacation time and great, like, salary, but I also saw myself represented in tech. So I was like, oh, this is like kind of a fresh new beginning that I can take not just as a career but in my life. And it seems like people are like not having a bad time doing that. So that's why I kind of was like, I kind of want to do this. And again, when stepping into a new role, even in just life or in career, it's kind of difficult to see how people are going to interact with it, or like an actual community. Again, being a career changer, you kind of, especially if you start self-taught, you kind of see that. I feel like there's kind of always like a little bit of a wall that imposter syndrome helps build, right? Of like, okay, I can learn everything on Google. And I also went to a boot camp, and that was really great too, where I learned all these skills, and I got to interact with people as well in the community. But I was still like, okay, but I still need to bridge that gap into being like an actual software engineer. um like, I don't know how to work with a team that, like, pushes things onto GitHub and knows how to work technically within a team. Like, I know the theory behind it and I can build an app, but I don't know how this would work with other people, doing their own PRs and doing how would I collaborate and put my things together with theirs, like a puzzle piece. So again, Cherry on Tech was really great because I got to work with other developers on my team. And I got to learn that feedback of like, hey, I just pushed something to you. Like, can you check it? Can you review it? Like, make sure I don't break anything. And then, they'll be like, hey, no worries. You got it, all pat down. Now, can you check my things so I don't break anything? So it was a really great introduction of like, okay, cool. Like, I do have enough skills to be able to contribute to something. Even though I knew that beforehand, I think that just helped, kind of like not think of myself as an imposter, and just see like, yeah, like I've worked with a team before, I can work with a team again. And it's just also just fun, even with I had a lot of fun with my team, not just with developers, but also, designers and PMs. And if someone had like a question about, hey, how does this work behind the hood? Like, how is this button working? It was always great to be like, yeah, like let's go ahead and, drop on Zoom and I'll show you how it works, just in case you're curious, or if you ever want to, expand this into another thing, this is how it would go. And I think that just helped the team be like, okay, here's things that are still flexible and we can move around if we need to move around.
Love it. Yes. And I feel like for us as a Cherry on Tech, again, that representation is one of the most important things for us, and having like a space where everybody could be themselves. And like you were saying, Tanya, I feel like for me coming into tech, I was 10 years in retail management, and I wouldn't say that I couldn't be myself, but yes, there is a lot of structure and a lot of ways that you have to be in some spaces. And it was super refreshing to be able to say, yeah, like I'm queer, I'm Latinx, I'm in my 40s, and I'm in UX. And this is super welcoming, and being able to say this just helps other like us to be able like, okay, this is cool. Like you were saying, it's okay to be me. So I love it. Thank you for that. Um, and that part of you talking like how to work between developers. I mean, I see it at work all the time in Slack. Yes, like, hey, can you review this for me? Can you check this for me? And it's like, this is exactly what happened at work, and this is what we try to uh, replicate as much as we can on Cherry on Tech. Bandana, I'm going to try like an extra topic on you, as like you were mentioning in the beginning. You are new into Canada and you were immigrant, and is like two mixed things here. Yes, it's like
Yeah.
now I'm new in tech, now I'm a UX designer, plus I'm an immigrant in a new country. So what has been the struggles for you?
Well, I think, yeah, the chicken and egg problem, of course, when you're transitioning into a new career. And there was a, a bunch load of boot camps that I was supposed to choose from, and everyone makes all these promises. And at that point, you also feel like, hey, if I do this boot camp, I'm gonna be fine. Like everything's gonna be sorted out. That's the expectation that you're set up with. And after the boot camp, though that is a very good start, it takes a lot of unlearning of the ways things work in the industry and working in some real projects. And unless you do that, you're just like yeah, not knowing what you're doing in the industry. So I guess cherry on tech really does help at that point, even for me. So that was a struggle choosing between this bunch load of resources that were out there, especially for UX designers. Everyone's and the barrier is so low, like it's not as hard as a coding on the front, like just on the front. So many people come into it, and it's also a struggle to stand out, I would say. So, yeah, I guess these are some struggles even as an immigrant, and everyone else would also be seeing the same things.
Hmm. And again, I feel like coming back as being an immigrant, we are dealing with a lot of things. Yes, like community, like what it is to be in Canada, how to
Yeah,
interact with people. This idea that if you don't have Canadian experience, is like your resume in a way, or like your professional life is not like have value. So just starting kind of from
yeah,
zero, and then thinking is. Um, the boot camp experience. This is a big one. I feel like we can have like a whole chat about boot camps. But yes, this is a good one. And now we're like, I feel like I don't know if I asked you this before. Maybe I wouldn't remember. But Bandana, how did you ended up knowing about Cherry on Tech, and why did you choose like back? Like now I'm thinking, when is the date? Back thinking back in August. Yes,
September, August,
yeah,
yeah.
September, August. Why did you choose to be part of Cherry Tech?
Yeah, well, I'm an immigrant. I'm in Vancouver, so I was looking around communities for designers or tech people in Vancouver and following some public voices such as Juliet on YouTube. So I think, yeah, you were the first contact for me. I got to know, like, when you're new in a place, it's better to get acquainted with the communities and people in your space. So I think that's what helped me find Cherry on Tech, and it just came when I was looking for a tangible experience in UX design. So yeah, that's how I found Cherry on Tech.
Good. And this is a great oh my goodness. How do you call this? Now I forgot the word in English. This is a great resource. I don't think that is what I wanted to say. This is a great resource for new people coming into tech and into a new space. It's like go and find people in the community that know about. And I don't know if it was for us, we have something here. I feel like they changed the name and I don't know it, but I'm going to call it as the old name. That is Vancouver Chicken.
Yeah,
I feel like
yeah.
they changed the name. Yes,
Vancouver design community now.
there you go. And this has been a good one for me, and something that I recommend if you're in Vancouver, mostly because they do a lot of events. I will start talking about something else. So no, Jen, how did you know about Cherry and Tech, and why did you choose it?
Well, I first found out about it through you, Julia, because you had a podcast, and that's how I first heard about you. And you posted about it on LinkedIn. And initially, I wasn't really thinking about it because I had decided I didn't want to do boot camps. I was self-taught, but I thought I can learn on my own. And I was lucky enough to get a couple freelance gigs early on through connections, and I was learning a lot, and I was getting mentorship through ADP List, which was amazing, but it's not the same as working with others. It's different. You're getting feedback on your specific work, but you're not really growing as a team environment. And so when you posted about it, I thought, this is the one thing I'm missing. I'm missing that being able to work with cross-functional teams. And so I decided that this would be really good for me to experience and to learn with others that are learning as well. It's really important, I think, to support one another, because it can be kind of lonely when you're working kind of on your own in your own little track, doing your own little thing, and you don't grow because you're just like, yeah, I'm happy with this decision. Yeah, I'm going to keep going. You don't think about other perspectives because you do kind of get in your own little lane. So I knew it would help me grow more. And like it absolutely did, so I think that's why I decided to do it.
Oh my goodness, it's like everybody knows me. I feel so popular and famous. That's so funny. Okay, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. But Tanya, how did you ended up on Cherry on Tech?
Yeah, so I would say I really resonated with a lot of what Jen said, because again, like I had graduated from a boot camp, and one of the last things we did was a like mini hackathon for 2 days. And I was like, wow, I loved like working with other people as much as I did, building stuff myself. So I got a little taste of it. And again, like, studying for the, job interviews, it's really great to like know your stuff. But one of the big things I think that developers, should know is how to work on stuff with other people too. It's great doing my apps on the side too, but I think a lot of good comes from people working together. So I was like, oh, I'm kind of craving that kind of like community kind of like workplace that I could, make things with. And I did join like a couple of, online groups for tech, such as like Out in Tech, Tequeria. And it was great. Like I could talk with folks there, but there wasn't really a dedicated like, hey, let's build a project together channel, or kind of like little group that I could join. So I actually saw you post on Out in Tech, I think in the programs or volunteer channel, hey, like Cherry on Tech is this thing that's going on. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I need to know more. So then it was just like right place, right time for me, because I had just finished my boot camp and I was like, I have all these skills and I don't know how to apply them. There's so many things I could do. So yeah, it was great. And yeah, I just had a lot of fun.
Love it. I feel like that for me, these communities, like again, whatever it is, I'm in so many communities that I can lost track of it. But that had been my like the most important study in my career. Back in 2020, when I did change careers, finished my boot camp, that's how I met my tech squad. Yes, it's like, hey, I know that I need to build experience. Is anyone down to work with me in a passion project? That's how Cherry and Tech started. At that point, it was just Cherry Squad, if you want to call it, and then we just opened it to more. But it's really powerful. Again, community has been one of the most important things for all of us here today, and a lot of people in tech. Huh. If you know me, you know that I love struggles. And then every time that if you talk to me and you tell me, oh, it's so hard, it's like, oh my goodness, I love it, because this is such a learning opportunity at any point. So all of you went into like a 13-week program where you built end-to-end project. And when we're talking about end-to-end, it's like from an idea, like we gave you 3 problem spaces. You go into your tech squad, it's like, hey, what do we build? And during this 13 weeks, there's a lot of struggles. And I love struggles. So Tanya, let's get back to you. So what if you can name a specific challenge that you face during the program and how you overcome it?
Yes, I think especially with the 13-week program, a struggle that I feel like a lot of folks encountered was just time and how much we can get done in that time. So again, we all kind of came together and we're like, cool, this is a great idea. We love this idea. How big can we make it? And so it was a little bit of a struggle because again, we were just getting to know each other in the beginning, And we're like, well, as a developer, I guess I can do this in this amount of time. And I think that's also what was so great about being in a community with Cherry on Tech was, ooh, I don't know how fast I'm going to be compared to other people. What if I'm too slow? What if I'm, not, what if they don't understand what I'm trying to do? And so I think within like those maybe like onboarding week and first week, you kind of got to iron those things out as we got to know each other and be like, hey, this is kind of like the way that I work with my time. Of course, everybody's different with, the way that they work in their time and how long it takes them to do things, which is totally fine. So trying to find that like kind of tempo that we all worked with and applying that to the scope of our project, being like, okay, this is kind of how we work with, this is kind of like the lay of how we work with as a team. Now that we know that, how do we kind of time block it out with our sprints that we have on Cherry on Tech, and to make sure that we get something done at the end of the program that we can, show at our program share at the end of the cohort. And again, it was a super great exercise, not to just kind of like pace oneself, but also pace oneself in relation to other people. And, be aware of like, okay, so and so won't be able to have this much time this sprint because they have, things to attend to. How do we accommodate that as a team through UX, through PMs, through developers, so that everybody's covered in our team?
I love this. And I feel like the time constraints are real. This is not something that, yes, like you have it here in the 13-week program. But if I talk back, if I think about my work at the moment, we are having a big release in April. And then we start to thinking about all of these constraints that you mentioned. Okay, people is going for vacation, people is getting sick. A lot of things come up in between these big projects that it needs to happen. So how we are accommodating all of this and how we being mindful about the work and what it needs to happen. And how you're using this story, and I feel like thinking about you, Tanya, how you're using this story when going interviewing and talking. This is like real things that happen at work. So I love it. I love that you share this. Jen, struggles and how you overcome it.
Well, I think we had a similar struggle, time commitments and everything, but I think also an extra struggle that my team had was that we had people in so many different parts of the world. So I had an 8-hour time difference to my other UX designer. And then one of our developers was 4 hours ahead of me. So that's a 12-hour difference between them. So that was a really difficult thing. And it was hard because I think working like asynchronously is not necessarily an easy thing, especially when you don't know each other and you haven't established sort of like unwritten rules, like about how to do things and, systems, processes. None of that was established yet because we didn't even know we needed to establish them, like when you just don't know. So I think that was really, really a challenge. And one thing that really helped for my team was when the other designer and we just set up a time that we both could meet so that we could both work together. So we worked together on separate things, but at the same time, side by side, so to speak. And then that really helped us because then we weren't having this issue of like, oh, I don't know, will she like it? I'm not sure. We could just say, what about this? What do you think? And we could talk about it in that exact moment. And so that was hard because it meant me staying up really late and her getting up early, and trying to make that work was really hard, but it was really worth it because in that sort of 2 hours, we grew so much more together and we understood a lot more about how we were thinking. And also the benefit too was that we learned like tips from one another. Like, oh, what are you doing there? Could you show me how you did that? Like, if we were in the same room working side by side, you'd be doing that all the time and you'd be learning and growing so much. But when you're working on your own, again, it's that in your own lane, you're just doing your own thing and you only know what you know. So I feel like that was a real struggle, but it was also really a benefit because when we came through it, we learned a lot through that.
And you don't think that, I feel like, you don't think that async work is one of those skills that you need to develop and that you need to be aware of it? And for me, this is such a powerful thing to be able to do. Uh, if we, again, I'm coming back to my work, everybody is in different parts of the world, and we all work remote. So for us to be able to work async and make things happen is such a powerful thing. So again, we come to this and struggle, such a big learning opportunity for you, Jen, and for your team to develop ways of communication, know what is styles, how styles work differently, and how to be able to work in those rules more specific and intentionally, that at the beginning you didn't know, and then you were building into the process. Again, such a good thing to be able to talk about, and as your experience when you're going on interviews, that you have this skill in hand. Bandana, what about you? Struggles
Yeah,
and learnings.
exactly. I think you covered most of it. And going back to the point where we were given an assignment to work on an end-to-end project from scratch, and we were all sort of new, like Tanya mentioned. So we were used to like a structure or like something like, yeah, we're working under someone, or you just have these tasks that you get to do. But when you're in this space where everyone's new, but you have to build something together, and it's you have to think in a wider picture. It's not just like you just do your task and it's done. We had to come together, we had to take ownership on certain aspects, and we got more understanding of what each role needs to do and some empathy towards them, uh, and kind of like get to this entrepreneurship space. And we're still continuing actually our squad. We're still trying to scale our product, see how we can take it into the actual world. So yeah, I think this was a challenge in the beginning to create our own systems and structures, like Jen mentioned, and sort of like make it work for us and also be matching with the industry standards. So I think that was a big challenge and learning for us.
I love it. And when we talk about the end-to-end project, I feel like this is a topic that we've been having as an organization. Is like, do we give the squads a project and they just take it over, or we just give them an idea and start from zero? And I talk about this in our last panel, but for me, when I had the chance to work at work in like an end-to-end project, just coming from an idea, it was one of the most powerful experience of coming like from zero and having like something. Yes, and if you think about this, having something 13 week after, like a real project that you put together in a team in limited time, because all of us, this is not full time. No one of us put full time hours on this. We do this on the side. So there is a lot of constraints that coming in when we're doing the project. But having something that is tangible after 13 weeks from zero is, I don't know if you don't think, maybe it's just the one gets really excited, but it's so powerful to be able to say that you build something out of the blue. And I know that the first month is really struggle because we have so many constraints, new people, time differences. Do we want to work this project? I don't know what you're capable to do. Like, we don't know anything. Yeah. So the first month, a lot of people is like, I'm in the right space. Can I do this? So I love that. Mm, okay. I need one key takeaway from each of you, from something that you learned during the process. So it's just one. I know that you already mentioned a lot of them, but if you can have one takeaway, I feel like Tanya feels ready. Tanya, where would you want to go away?
Yes, this is technically too, but Figma and Jira. Like this is more technical for sure, but I had heard of Figma and Jira, but again, working on my own projects, I was like, I don't really need that now. But looking at a job description, so like, oh, needs to know how to read Figma files, or needs to know how to work with Jira and work in an agile, environment. And I was like, oh, I don't know that. So again, I know that was in like the actual description of Cherry on Tech when I, first saw it. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll have access to Figma and Jira and I'll learn how to use that. not just for the team, but also like telling people how I know how to use that. So again, props to UX and PMs who use Figma all the time, because when I first opened it, I was like, how do I scroll? How do I zoom? So thankfully everybody was super graceful, and they're like, okay, this is how you do a little stamp on Figma, for our stand-ups. And yeah, it was, again, I think those are super valuable skills for everybody that can, like a lot of teams use those, tools, not just developers. So that was definitely like some real hands-on experience that I really appreciated, because now I can teach folks, oh, this is how you use like Figma.
Love it. And we're going to put down these into the things that we do in Cherry Tech. Sometimes we oversee what you just mentioned. Yes, for me, our work is something that we just do every day, and we try, like as in the cohort program, to bring as much as realness into what the cohort program is. That is exactly what you just mentioned. You as a developer, you need to be able to go into Figma and see what is going on and take that information and translate it into code. That's something that we bring here, the same as Jira. Everybody should know, as a developer. Oh my goodness, I'm not a developer. Me as a designer, I create a lot of QA design stories in Jira myself. I do it all the time, so I need to be able to open a ticket, write down, structure everything, whatever it is. So love it, Tanya. Thank you. Putting down this into what we do at Cherry on Tech too. Jen, one takeaway, one learn.
I think mistakes are really important, and they help you grow. So it's okay to make mistakes. And in fact, I think it's important to just start and not get worried that it's not going to be perfect, because it won't be perfect anyways. And that's okay, because you'll just learn through that. So I think you just gotta start.
I will call this imperfection is perfect. And I feel like that's one of the most important things at this stage. And if I put it back into a work example, this is exactly what is happening with our release. Yes, that is coming up. We just need to make sure that something is going out that users are able to use. We are going to fix a lot of things after, and that's okay. Yes, and that's totally okay. We want to see what users thinks and how they're using it. That's the most important part. So imperfection is the new perfect these days. Is this the new slang that I'm making up? Yes. Okay, Vandana, your takeaways and learnings.
Yeah, it's so rude of you, Julia. You asked us for one takeaway. I can come up with a list, but I know why you would have done that. But I guess one takeaway for me is the importance of facilitation. I think Cherry on Tech did provide us a lot of resources. Like when I mentioned there was no structure, it's not that we were all on our own. We had a lot of structure from Cherry on Tech and mentors to support us. And one of that was like conducting workshops and facilitating workshops. And I saw how important or necessary that is for a team, and the presentation skills. So yeah, I found my love for facilitation through this, and I'm planning to like work on that. So yeah, that was my takeaway.
Love it. And I feel like we do these a lot as a designers, but I know that Tanya, you were nodding. Um, this is something that we try for absolutely everybody on the tech squad to get experience in facilitating and presenting, because presenting your work is going to make such a big or a powerful tool when talking to stakeholders and anyone on the team. So I know, Tanya, that you got into that too, even that you didn't mention it. But we can, okay, we have 10 minutes. Okay. I'm going to back to Tanya because you keep mentioning these quite a bit. So how collaboration in a cross-functional team contribute to the success of your project?
Yeah, again, I had never worked with like a UX designer or a PM. So I don't know. I think it was a really good opportunity to just kind of learn about those roles and how it is to work with folks in those roles and kind of learn, okay, as a developer, I can give this to other developers, but as a developer, how do I give this to folks who, you know, don't necessarily need to know like, oh, this is how I did this dependency, or this is how like I coded this. How to translate that into a way that is like, okay, what is information that they need? They don't need to know like the nitty-gritty of it all, but how do I present this in a way that, you know, they're looking for? Like, you know, what key aspects are they looking for in terms of feedback, in terms of like, hey, I have an issue with this. Especially, I think a lot of the times as a developer, you think of like, okay, these are the test cases of where, okay, well, what if a user does this instead of what we were expecting them to do? Like, how is our design and our UX going to accommodate for that? How are they going to know whether to spell out a letter, or no, spell out a number instead of just write the number numerically, right? So I think, again, learning how to communicate with all those roles. And also, you know, we were pretty open about teaching each other about our own roles so that folks can kind of get more of an insight on how to communicate with each other. Um, I think that just left us with, you know, more knowledge about anything.
Yay. Okay. I'm going to go back to Jen because back at the beginning, you were mentioning, yes, when you work by yourself, is everything to what I decide is good to go. Yes, I like this. Yes, I like it. Next. So, what it is in a cross collaboration, a team, when you have different point of views, and how that help for the success of the project?
Well, I think it's really important to get other perspectives on any design, you know, because just we all think in one way and we think that our way is correct because that's how we think. And so it's really important to get other perspectives. But also, I think during that process, it really helped me to develop my ability to explain the design decisions behind it. Because what I didn't realize was I was making decisions based on lots of very important valid reasons, but I wasn't communicating them. And so people would just see the design and think like they might maybe comment on the look of it, or, you know, and I really needed to develop the reasoning behind it. It wasn't just, I chose this because I thought it looked nice. I put it here because I thought it was a good place to put it. There were reasons behind it, but I didn't realize I wasn't clarifying that. So I think working with others helped me to see their perspective and what they were thinking, and also made me stop and think, oh, I hadn't thought about it like that. Like, that's an interesting perspective. Maybe that's a good, and the developers especially had good ideas because they're used to developing things in a certain way. Maybe they have certain patterns or whatever. So they would bring in lots of ideas that I hadn't thought of. And I kind of maybe didn't even think to consider that they might have good ideas. No offense. I just didn't think about that. And they had lots of really great ideas. So that really opened my eyes. But then also it helped me to develop my ability to explain the reasoning behind it.
I love that you mentioned it's like, oh, I didn't know that they could have good ideas. I feel like for us to be able to say, come back and say, what, okay, why I thought that, what that it came from, and just having the opportunity to see other point of views, thinking about like prejudices and biases that we come into, that we have in our own. So when we start working with people, that kind of like bell comes down, and we can still see other perspectives and how can make the product be better at the end of the day, to make absolutely every user to be able to handle it, and being like a second hand, like a, how you call that, like knowing without knowing what they're doing, and they're doing it right. Bandana, I forgot the question. See what is the
Collaboration.
question?
We were talking about
Collaboration. Thank you. How can collaboration help you and success of the product?
yeah, like Tanya mentioned, there were a lot of things that we were learning from each other. Like I learned GitHub, and you know how they hosted the site on Netlify, and how all these things have to come together, and how PRs work, and they had a really wonderful template for us for a PR that is friendly for everyone. So we got to see a lot of what each person does individually, and like Tanya mentioned, they probably think about a lot of use cases when they're coding the logic for it, and we are more aware of the things that come in the technical aspect, some missing gaps that helped us brush up our flow on things like what else could be considered. So I think these are repetitive, but these are the most valuable things that come out of collaboration, and I loved having the time doing that.
Okay. Vandana, one memorial or one achievement that you have an experience during the cohort.
Achievement, memorable achievement. So I don't know. There's an emotional one. Not like an emotional. It's like a special one. I think it was during our final showcase of our cohort. We tried really hard to like work on a presentation, like come together, like show everything that we've done in like 10 minutes. So after that, Julia got teary-eyed, and I was like, "Yeah, worth it. Done. That's enough." So I
I
think.
love it. Yes, that's memorable for me too. And again, if like people don't understand this because like I was able to see everybody's project and their work from day one and how people is struggling for a month and be able is like, did you do all of this? It's like people don't understand this because uh if you go and see the final presentations, you just see the final product. Yes, it's like, yeah, okay, they did this. No, it's like massive work on every single squad to be able to get there. And I know so many of the struggles of a lot of the squads
Yeah.
during this time. So I know how much work every single person put in this. So yes, I try not to do it, but it's like, oh, it's so good. I could even cry right now. Okay, Jen, one memorable or achievement that you can share.
I think for me, a memorable moment was when I met with one of the developers and I was explaining through one of the designs because I felt like it would be easier to just talk it through with her. And as I was explaining like how I wanted this to be this color, but then we wanted another page, it was going to look the same but different color. And, I was explaining all these little things. And I didn't want to have to like create all the designs for her because I thought it would be fine if she could just take that and then I'll put the colors in and she would just do it. And as I was explaining it, she's like, yeah. And then she's like, oh, by the way, I've already done one of them. Shall I show it to you? And I was like, what? And she'd been doing it all week. Even though I hadn't said it was ready for handoff, she'd already been working on it. And she showed it to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's like amazing. She'd already done it. Like, what? It was so great. I was just really excited.
I love that magic. That's what something about love about the developers work. It's like honestly like magic. It's just you just put like things and then boom, it just coming to something real.
Like behind the scenes, just making it happen, and I didn't know she was doing it, and I was like, oh my god, it was just really exciting.
Yay! Okay, Tanya, what about you?
There's so many, whether it be like, pushing our first PR or being able to see our like website on Netlify. So like, being able to access it was super cool and also just showing our project. But I think one thing, like even after the cohort ended officially, right? Our squad, and I'm in Vandana's squad, so we're talking about the same one. We decided to continue it, right? And we wanted to find a new PM. So we eventually did find 2 new PMs, one of which is Vandana. But for that new person who was coming in,
Hold on, come back here, Bandana. You didn't mention this. This is cool. What? Nice. Okay, sorry. Continue.
yeah, no, you're good. Facilitation skills are great for a PM, so I can vouch for Vandana when Vandana said that facilitation is important. But this new person wasn't part of our cohort. They were just looking to find a squad, and they were also a career changer, and they wanted to go into more of a PM role. So we met with this person as a team, and we were able to like just present everything that we've done so far, and it was super satisfying to be able to like you can feel that everybody felt like ownership of what we made. We can all explain everything. If there was any question, we were like, okay, I'll hand it over to Vandana or Clavia to talk about why we made these design decisions, or me or Kat would answer, okay, this is why we made like these choices as a developer. And at the end, the PM person was like, all right, I know I have a lot to like go over, but I get it. I get what you were trying to make and I want to help. And that was just super satisfying because, again, we want to continue our project. So knowing that someone who hadn't been exposed to it before understood it and wanted to work on it was super valuable.
Oh, this is so, I'm so excited. And I feel like this is not something, we don't have more time, but this is something that we don't talk a lot enough, and is the power of a tech squad in like outside of the cohort, and how can this empower your professional and personal growth. And when we talk about a tech squad working together, doesn't mean that you need to work like in a specific project at the time. It could be just getting together to talk about how you doing, what is the interview process, do you need to practice, whatever it is. That's the power of a tech squad, and I'm super excited. I didn't have so much time to talk about like the things that we're bringing up for this next squad at this next cohort, but we have something that is called job readiness. So if you go into our spring 2024 cohort and you finished your 15 weeks, we are going to have a whole month just dedicated to job readiness, when we are going to bring guest speakers, we're going to do workshops. So I'm super pumped about this. One last question. It has to be super quick because we are over time. If you have one tip for people who is, well, people already apply. We have like 90 people that apply for our spring 2020 cohort. Vandana knows because she's helping us with this. But if you can give one tip to the next cherries, yes, that equals participants, to our cherry next cohort, what it will be, Jen? One tip.
I think take the time at the beginning to get to know your squad and what their time frame is like, and when they work best, how they work best, so that maybe set up that time. Like I said, when my designer and I finally did connect, it really connected us and built us up for success. And we didn't do that till kind of halfway through. So I think make the effort early on to do that, and it will really help your team.
Tanya.
Yes, I agree with that. Also, maybe taking some time to think about what you personally want out of the program. Of course, we're all working together to make a project, but what do you actually want from the project? Like, what, especially as a developer, what type of tech stacks do you want to work with? Do you want to implement a tool? If you do, like, kind of know that beforehand, so that way it makes it a lot easier for your team to be able to help each other and help you, succeed, not just within the project and the program, but like outside of it as well. So just knowing kind of what you want out of, Cherry on Tech, so that way folks can help you achieve it.
And this is a good one again for the after cohort. Do you have any skills that you want to develop? Do you want to learn something new? This is something that you can bring into the new projects that you can put together with your tech squad. Vandana, tip. One tip.
Yeah, I guess focus on the journey and not the destination. Don't worry about the end product or how good it's gonna be, but like the skills you can gain working with others. And also be open to communication. Like if you know what you want out of this program or you have some things, just communicate it with your squad, and yep, that would be really great.
Yes, thank you so much. This was so good. I have so much fun. And I don't have time to tell you, but this week we have the last two events that are happening. This is the job readiness, kind of a little more free and a little more happening. I just put it together. But we're going to talk about with PMs, and they're going to tell us how to transfer their skills into getting a job as a PM. That's going to happen Wednesday. And on Thursday is going to be Ali and me talking more about Cherry on Tech. And if you want to find more information about the cohort, just go to our LinkedIn and all the information is there. I just don't have time right now. But everybody, thank you so much for being here. I have so much fun. I almost cried again. That's so good. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.